Good evening. I'm Kelly Wright. Thank you for joining me this hour as we spend it together, and I do sincerely hope you're safe and well, taking care of yourself and your family because you matter. Coming up tonight, she's a multiple Grammy Award winner. She's a member of the world-renowned Clark Sisters. Her name is Jackie Clark Chisholm. She's in the house tonight, and Jackie will be talking to me about her music, about politics, about her life and the ups and downs, and how she exercises faith and the power of prayer to endure and overcome these turbulent times that we find ourselves living in. She's coming up a little bit later in tonight's program, so make sure you stick around to see Jackie Clark Chisholm. But first, my opening observations. Words, they have power, particularly when you're the president of the United States or the leader of a corporation, the pastor of a church, the principal of a school, the elected city council member, a father, a mother, a team captain. Your words have power, and how we express ourselves can impact a person's life, lifting them up or tearing them down. Remember that little saying we used to say as children, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me? The truth of the matter is, for many of us, words, particularly in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic, can hurt us. Words, or the lack of using proper words to define how deadly the coronavirus really is, and choosing to downplay it so you don't create a panic. So you choose, as President of the United States, not to make people aware of what's going on, to give them information and respect the American people as having enough intelligence and wherewithal to understand the power of your words having meaning that can make the difference between life and death. Words can also heal the racial divide we have in our country. Do we speak to hope or do we speak to despair? What will bring us together as a nation will be the power of our words, having tough conversations that will ultimately help us identify our strengths and dispel our weaknesses. Words that can encourage, enlighten, inform, heal, and inspire. So we must be careful with our words. They can only be forgiven, not forgotten. And those are my opening observations. So joining me now are two brothers who really focus on politics and all that's happening in the world. They are Craig and David DeLuz, and if you're looking a little bit closely, they are twins, but they don't think alike. They are two individuals, and on the political spectrum, they think left and right. So without further ado, David and Craig DeLuz joining me now on the Kelly Wright Show to talk about politics and what's happening on the presidential campaign trail. Craig, I'll begin with you.
Sure.
Tell me about yourself and all that you've been doing.
Well, I guess to make a long story short, I work in primarily out of Sacramento, California, but also out of Florida. I do mostly digital communications, working with groups that advocate on behalf of the Second Amendment and on conservative ideals and principles like the Firearms Policy Coalition, Florida Carry, and the California Republican Assembly.
All right. And David?
Well, right now I am state work. I work for the state of California Department of Transportation. I'm a civil rights officer. I've been a long time civil rights advocate and activist. I've run political campaigns, of course, for progressive and liberal candidates, Democratic candidates. And I also love tweaking this guy here because he's smart, but he's wrong. But that's okay. That's all right. But I'm excited to be here. And thank you very much, Kelly, for the opportunity.
Craig, I like the way David said that. He's doing it in brotherly love.
We love going after each other. We love having a good time and talking politics and love because, as I always tell him, it's not about right and left. It's about right and wrong.
Okay, and that's how we begin this conversation with the twins, the DeLuz brothers, Republican and Democrat joining me now. And so the elephant in the room, gentlemen, is the President of the United States on a couple of points. One, his interview that's been quite revealing with Bob Woodward. As a result of that, many people are saying they're not surprised by what the president's admission is that the fact that coronavirus was more deadly and is more deadly than the flu. But many people were saying, why would you hold on to information like that? Of course, his excuse is that he didn't want to cause a panic. Yet if the American people understood, perhaps more lives could have been saved. And did he really act as a good leader in preparing the nation for this coronavirus? Craig, I'll begin with you.
Well, I guess first of all, one of the things that's interesting is I love how the mainstream media is, on one turn, anything he says, they promote the exact opposite. And so the first thing is that if he had said that it was very, very serious, they would have gone out of their way to downplay it. The other thing that I think is important to note that at the very same time, Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden had the exact same information. And guess what? They were saying the exact same things for the exact same reasons. They did not want to see David, let me finish. They did not want, they didn't want to cause a panic. Now, I agree that the way in which he did it and his execution was poor, but to understand exactly what he did and why he did it, I don't know why anyone is surprised.
But David and Craig, you'll probably have to acknowledge this. There are more now than 192,000 deaths resulting from coronavirus, whether it's President Trump or Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden. Let's keep in mind that President Trump holds the title as Commander-in-Chief. Therefore, David, your response to what the president revealed in this 18-hour-long episode of interviews with Bob Woodward.
This is a prime example of the narcissism of this particular president. He wanted to rub it in the face of America and liberals that he knew exactly what was going on. And Craig, the only difference that I have between, the only thing I have to say is this. I will acknowledge that the idea about not wanting to create a panic is totally understandable. I get it. The problem, though, is that your president decided not to pivot, whereas Nancy and Chuck Schumer and all the other legislative leaders on the left pivoted and called for action on the virus. This president continued, and to this day continues to thumb his nose in the face of science, in the face of all of the medical experts who said masks and PPE and all the other things. He had so many tools at his disposal early on in this thing that he could have done something. And he's done nothing.
We're coming back with more of the program right after this. Welcome back to the program. So we're talking in brotherly love this evening about the president and his actions in terms of leading this nation, not only dealing with the pandemic, but there's the other issue, gentlemen, the racial epidemic that we're seeing with the racial unrest. Sadly, we've seen two sheriffs shot. We've seen a young man in Georgia pummeled by a sheriff there. He's been fired. They're still in California looking for the person or the suspect who opened fire in a brazen way on two officers sitting in their vehicle. That is indicative of the racial unrest going on in our country and the distrust that's going on between the Black community and police officers. And the President of the United States acknowledges that there is a systemic racial divide, but yet he hasn't addressed it. Craig, what's your concerns about that?
You know, I would have you just look at the myriad of speakers that spoke at the Republican National Convention. It wasn't just a bunch of politicians. These were individuals in every walk of life who talked about who talked about their American experience and how, in many cases, specific programs, specific policies, and initiatives that were put in place by the president made a difference in their lives.
That notwithstanding, David, wouldn't it be good for the president to have a kumbaya moment and say to America, let's stop the racial nonsense and come together at that table of brotherhood?
What he's saying is that it's Black people's fault. It's minority people's fault. If they weren't out there protesting for their rights, then there would be peace. That's what the president is saying. President is saying that there is no room for grievance. That Craig, the president has virtually removed all references to racial sensitivity training, diversity training.
That is not true. That is not true.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. No, you can't. No, you can't.
Of course I can't, because I'm a conservative, and mainstream media, conservatives don't get to speak.
First of all, this isn't mainstream media. This
I know.
Is Kelly Wright show.
I hear you, Kelly. I'm sorry. I'm referring to my brother. But the thing, what he came up against and what he discussed was the issues relating to specifically critical race theory. Right. And quite frankly,
that's the foundation. I have issues. Diversity and inclusion work.
First of all, critical race theory is not about inclusion.
Let me step in now as the good uncle. We can all, sit down and sing together, but we can't always talk together. So let's take a moment, take a breath. Here's the bottom line. The way that many Americans are looking at this. We have a moment at this inflection point in our lives and during this election campaign to really try to come together as a nation. Instead, we find ourselves being more divisive. And Craig and David, the president of the United States has the leadership. He needs to exercise, in my humble opinion, leadership to bring people together. Yes, you can trot out Black Americans who are doing well and being successful. But when you're asked a question by another white man about white privilege, and you say to Bob Woodward, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, you can't have it both ways.
Well, so the thing is that we keep saying we want to have this discussion. But the problem is that when we don't want both sides to be honest about the discussion, if that is how the president feels.
I'm sorry, David. I hear your point, Craig. But my point is, have the conversation. The president has not had the conversation. He says you're drinking the Kool-Aid, and he admits that there is systemic racism, yet to his base, he talks about law and order. Where's the grace and mercy?
If that is his perspective, that is him engaging in the conversation.
He says the words, he doesn't believe it. Period. He doesn't. This is how he governs. He says the words, and then he does what he wants to do. That's the whole problem with this. He doesn't believe that there's really racism. He believes that there's a problem with people of color and poor people. There's a problem with them. They are defective. That's what that is.
That is an outright lie. That is an outright lie.
That is
David. No, that is you. That is you interpreting. That is you deciding to take whatever he says and putting whatever spin you want on it. And that's been the biggest part of the problem with dealing with this president. Now, let me just tell you, he has said a lot of stupid things. I wholly acknowledge that. All right. But what's frustrating is that I see when he says certain things, I see, once again, the mainstream media, and I see Democrats. I see you taking it and spinning it into meaning something that has nothing to do with what he said or what he meant. And then those who probably should put a check on it don't.
They do love each other. Trust me. They grew up together. They're twins. The DeLuz brothers. I'm grateful to have them on, but our time is short because coming up next, we've got to hear from the lady of gospel, and we probably need some gospel right now to break this up.
It's all in love, Kelly. It's all in love.
We're going to hear from the DeLuz brothers quite a bit on this program as we go back and forth about what's happening politically, especially as we lead up to the election. How many days left, gentlemen? About 50 days left now?
Oh, 50 days left. Yeah.
Yeah.
About
So
that.
Craig and David, they'll probably keep on talking after we've gone on, but we are coming back with Jackie Clark Chisholm, famed member of the Clark sisters. We're coming back with that and more. And the Luz brothers, love you. Keep spreading that brotherly love out there. I love it.
All right, Kelly, keep up the great work, man. We love your show.
Doing a fantastic job. Very
Thank
much
you.
enjoy the show.
God bless. We'll be
God
back
bless.
with more after this. So welcome to the program. I'm delighted, I'm excited, and I'm ignited with faith, hope, and love because of this lady that we're about to introduce you to. We're going to talk about a very important topic about getting out the vote and so many other issues that are going on in our world today. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me bring on my show, my program, the amazing, Grammy Award-winning Jackie Clark Chisholm. Jackie's in the house. How are you, Jackie?
Good morning, Kelly. How are you today?
I am fantastic. I'm great, and I'm excited about having you on because already you brought the sunshine into
Well, thank God for that. I did something good already.
well, you're always about doing something good.
I
But we're here to talk
am.
about not just your music, not just the fame that's followed that as a result of the great music you and your sisters, the famous Clark sisters, have done over the years. But we want to talk about a very special mission that you're involved in right now about getting out the vote. Now, you're based in Michigan. As you know, the AARP Michigan is conducting an important program called Michigan Sisters and Friends.
Yes.
You're a member of that organization, and you're having conversations that count for the 2020 vote. Jackie, how important is it for successful African-American women like yourself to be actively engaged in getting out the vote?
I think it's extremely important because this year we're really at a very crucial point in our society. And if we don't make some changes in the head of our country, the person who is leading our country, if we don't make some changes to make sure that equality is looked at and it is dealt with, if we don't put a person in charge that can do that and make sure that that happens, we're going to be in a worse situation than we are right now. So my prayer is that going forward, that we step out, we vote, we have to be counted. If we don't make the difference won't be made. So I think the principal part falls on us as a people, that we go and vote, that we don't become complacent or lazy and stay at home and just figure my vote don't count. Yes, it does. Every vote counts. And so we need people to get out and go put your vote in. Maybe you've already put in for a mail-in, but make sure that you do your part. I think that is a principal thing for the people of America, not just Black people, but people of America, if we want to see a change in our society.
Indeed, indeed. I echo to what you're saying, because it's important that everybody votes. This is a pivotal election year.
Yes.
Regardless of who you vote for, just get out and vote. And the other
Absolutely.
thing is true about this COVID-19 pandemic that we're engaged in. What are your concerns about that, particularly given the health disparities and inequities that Black people have been involved in for centuries, and now we're finding that the COVID-19 is disproportionately impacting Black and brown communities?
I think my take on that is that I think that we need to understand that if we are not proactive in trying to show that we're going to have equality, that everybody is treated the same, that just because of our skin color doesn't mean that it changes who we are or it changes the opinion of our society. But it matters to me that we are treated equally, that we're given the same opportunities that other races are given. And it's not just us, but I think that it's, so many times it's, right now, because of the things that we're facing, it's looked at as that black is the issue, but I think that human beings, I think that that's important, that that we as a human race, that we love one another the way we should, the way the Bible says that we should. Maybe you don't, maybe people, there are people out there that don't believe in the Bible, but just common sense and just being kind to one another, making sure that we love on one another the way we want someone to love on us. I think that that's crucial.
Right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm talking to the world-renowned Jackie Clark Chisholm, and she, as you are finding out already, she is just a down-home person who loves people right where they are. Back with more of Jackie Clark Chisholm right after the break. Welcome back. I'm talking to Jackie Clark Chisholm. She, of course, is a great solo artist, Grammy Award winner, and a member of the famous Clark Sisters. And Jackie, as we look across the landscape, you talked about in the first segment about being concerned and trying to address the racial inequities in this country, at the same time trying to bring healing to this country by looking at people right where they are. I want to ask you, what concerns you have about the ongoing statement from the President of the United States, who admitted that coronavirus is more deadly than the flu, but he chose to downplay it.
I think that I really feel sorry for this president, because I don't think that he, I really don't think that he has a heart for people. I think that to me, this is my own personal opinion, that I think that he, I'm not saying that he's not a good person, but I don't think that he has a heart for the people of the magnitude. See, you can have a heart for your group of people that you associate with. But when you think about the fact that you are running a country that houses millions of people, your personal vendettas or your personal ideas cannot be mimicked across the whole world, because if your views are narrow and they're not broad, how in the world are we supposed to overcome racism and all of these other isms that we have in the country today, if the very head of our country doesn't promote that? And so I think, to me, that, and I feel sorry for him as a person, and I pray that at some point along the way, once he is no longer president, he can find himself. In this process that we're in right now, we need equality. We need to see that the head of our country is for it, that the pandemic that we are in right now is the worst. And you got to look back when the pandemic happened back in the I think it was in early 20s, I think. When that happened, look at how far we have arrived and progressed in society. Look at how far we've come to where we are today. And then to downplay something so serious, that you could downplay that and now realize, oh, well, it really, really is. And no, it was important in November, in October of last year, when you heard about it, when they brought it to you and you did not address it. It was important then, but now it's worse, because people have lost their lives. Maybe he hasn't lost any family members to it. Maybe he hasn't, maybe he has. However, many of us have lost family members because of this pandemic. It is important. And if he doesn't address it that way, if he doesn't look at it that way, what do you think other countries look at our country and say, and we're supposed to be the home of the free and the home of the brave? Where is it? Why have we lost it along the way? This pandemic is serious. It is, I can't even tell you. If one person can affect 40 people, what does that tell you?
Yeah. And Jackie, to drill down on that point a little bit further, recently the president was campaigning in Michigan and people showed up without wearing any mask. And they're the very ones who will criticize Black Lives Matter and whites and blacks out on the streets protesting against racial injustice. But most of the people out there protesting are wearing masks.
Absolutely.
And this president has politicized that. And furthermore, one other question before we go to a break. What were your concerns when you discovered that he admitted to the investigative reporter Bob Woodward that there is a systemic racial issue in this country? And then when Bob Woodward, a white man talking to another white man about white privilege, the president responded, "Oh, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. He doesn't believe in that." How do we heal when a president of the United States won't address the systemic racial issue and then won't talk about to his base that we've got to get over our whiteness and get to a place where we understand that we are all one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all?
But I think the thing you have to look at, Kelly, is the fact that when you are privileged, it's very hard, and your views are tainted when you're privileged a lot of times, because you feel one way about something and you don't see that there's another view. You only see what you see, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yep.
I think that the fact that he is unable to see, or let me say it like this, he doesn't want to see it. He wants it to stay the way it is because of the culture that he came from. And because of the culture that he came from, he's loyal to that culture. And so no matter what anybody else says or think, that's how he thinks, and you're not going to change the way he thinks. Nobody can. So what do we do in that? What we do is what is right for our country. When you look at people who are trying to, when you look at people who are trying to be leaders, to talk about the injustice and talk about the things that need to be dealt with in our country, and if we don't support them, then what he says has more weight than it does if we don't follow the people who are trying to situate us in a place where we have to look at the inequality that we are facing in this country today.
I'm talking to Jackie Clark Chisholm. When we come back from the break, we'll talk a little bit more about this important conversation that she's engaged in with Michigan women, particularly Michigan Black women, as part of the AARP Conversation That Counts,
Right.
Getting out the vote in 2020. Back with more of Jackie Clark Chisholm and her music as well next. Welcome back to the program. I'm talking to Jackie Clark Chisholm. She's on the show. Jackie's in the house. And Jackie Clark Chisholm is an award-winning musical artist. And many of you know her music, and you also know the music of her sisters, the famous Clark sisters. You know, Jackie, it can be said that you're a child of greatness. You've been doing this for a minute. Your mother, the legendary Dr. Mattie Moss Clark, helped pave the way for you and your sisters to develop your God-given talents to music and form the Clark sisters. And can you just tell me what that experience is like? I mean, how many years have you contributed to the greatness of America through the music that you've created?
People look at it as something that was different from your home. It was not. For us coming up in Mattie Clark's house, she was just a mother, a mother who at one point in her life worked in a factory, gave up her position in the factory when my father was laid off work, and asked her supervisor to allow him to take that position, and they did. A woman who, yet we were on welfare back in the day, and she took what she had and made it much, and allow God to just use her in every area of her life. And so I think my household was no different from anybody else's. It just happened that because of the love of the Lord that my mom had and the way she taught us, coming up, that you're not better than anybody else. You don't have more than you. You have just what everybody else had. You don't have nothing special. And I remember one time, Kelly, I remember we were going out. This is when our record first had come out, and we were kind of getting a few more dates. And I remember went to a place in Chicago, and the guy came back after we sang, and you know, we felt like we had arrived at that point. And when the man came back and he said, "Well, we need you to come out and sign this autograph," and we're talking about, "No, we're not doing no autograph. We're not doing that today." And my mother looked, she said, "If you don't get your tails up and get out there and sign every autograph that's out there, and don't come back until they're over. When the people leave, that's when you come back. You don't take people for granted. God didn't send these people out here to spend their little money for you." So when I think about living in a household with my mom, it was nothing short of anybody else's. I mean that. And I mean that because that was the way she raised us. That was her love for God, the way she imparted that in us. You couldn't stay home from church. Like, we didn't have a choice. Today, these young people, they get, these millennials, they let their kids tell them what they're not gonna do. Oh, we didn't do that.
Yeah.
So if you had cramps, Maddie Clark would say, "Oh, you got cramps? Oh, well, God gonna heal you. Come on, we going to church." Okay, I got homework. You can sit on the back pew and do your homework. There it is. With no difference, Kelly. No difference. Okay, basic home, basic. But there was a respect, and there was an honor to be able to learn from her. But look at the women we are today. All of that made us who we are today. That's what I have to say.
You know, it's a wonderful legacy that your mother helped establish. And I've often said on this program and anywhere that I've spoken in any situation, that the greatness of our nation begins in the homes of our people. And
Absolutely.
your home is exemplary of that. And you're right. All of our homes should be that way, that mom is laying down the law. And if dad is there, dad's helping out. I want to talk more about that, and I'd like to talk about how you've cared for your family, not only as the oldest of the sisters, but also as a wife, a mother, and how your nursing skills have had to come into play. And then we get back into the music as well. I'm talking to Jackie Clark Chisholm, back with another break, and then we'll come back with her. Welcome back to the program. I'm having a delightful time, and I hope all of you who are watching this are enjoying yourselves as you're getting to know Jackie Clark Chisholm in a way that you've never seen her before. Open, honest, letting it all hang out there, and that's who she is. And that's who I love, and I'm just grateful that you're here. Now, you know, look, COVID has got to get done because we've got to start saving lives. And we've got to get back to our visiting each other in each other's houses. Because when I get to Detroit, Jackie,
you better
there's
have a
one thing I want. I want your best cooking on the table. Because you've got a cooking show. You need to talk about that and talk about how you can burn it up in somebody's kitchen.
You know, and it was really, it was like, I want to say it was almost like a mistake. Like one day I was cooking and I told my daughter, I said, why don't you film? She said, "I'm gonna film you, Mom." I said, "Okay, film me." And so I didn't know that she was actually putting me on Instagram. And it was just really a hoax. And I really wasn't, and I was gonna stop doing it, Kelly. I was telling my assistant, Dante, I told him, I said, "Dante, I think I'm gonna stop doing." Dante said, "Well, no, you can't stop doing it. We're gonna open up a store." I said, "No, I'm not doing that." And then the next day, he had printed up 500 aprons, and we sold them all that day. Wow. So then he called me on the phone. He said, "Well, you can't stop. You got to keep cooking." I said, "I don't want to keep cooking." But I am the cook in my family. My sisters are not cooks. They don't work in the kitchen away, because I cook dinner every day. I had 2 sons and my husband and my daughter. So I always cook big meals. And so my mom just taught me how to cook. And because in our household with my mother, I did the cooking. She taught me how to cook, because if she had to go out of town or if she had a choir rehearsal, she left me in charge of the meal. Okay. So that's how I became the cook that I am today. So what are some of your favorite dishes? I don't really have favorite dishes. I promise you, because I never eat when I cook big meals, I never eat.
Okay.
I can remember like the last big meal I cooked with my husband. I think it was, I want to say Easter last year. That was the last big meal that I cooked. And when I finished cooking all that food, I said, I want a hamburger.
Oh, wow.
He went and got me went and got me a hamburger. I ain't gonna say what product, but he went and got me a hamburger.
Okay.
And so it's really hard. Like when you're cooking all day, like when I cook for Christmas and I cook for Thanksgiving, I start cooking the Sunday before, and that's how I cook until I get everything done. So, it's just,
Okay.
it was just something that, and it's very therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
It takes my mind off of stuff. And then I always like to throw things in that I'm not going to throw. So I don't measure. So it's real hard for me, Kelly, to, when I do the show, I have to, my daughter makes me,
You got.
I don't measure nothing. That's right. I don't measure nothing. So my daughter said, Mom, you can't do that. I said, why can't I do it? Mom, if you telling people how to do it, they want to know exactly what you did. So I have to sit down and figure out exactly how much, if it's a teaspoon or a tablespoon, I got to figure that out.
And what's the name of the cooking show?
It's called Cooking with Auntie Jackie.
All right. We got to check it out. When we come back from the break, let's get into the music
Okay.
of Jackie Clark Chisholm. And that's after the break. Welcome back to the program. Jackie Clark Chisholm's in the house on the Kelly Wright Show. I love that. It's got a ring to it. And make sure you check out our cooking show, Cooking with Auntie Jackie. Auntie Jackie, you are also a wonderful, incredible singer, recording artist. Been singing since you were 0.
Right. Thank you. I love you. Now I really love you. I really love you now. You mine.
It's all family. It's all good.
Absolutely.
But tell me about this great new project that you're part of. A lot of people are on this with you, and it's all about developing hope. Tell me about it, please.
And I think that the most important thing is that in our music industry, you get opportunities. God's just been blessed, and I'm so grateful to God for the doors and the avenue that He's opened for me. With the Hopeology, Paul Wright who really kind of started this thing, was instrumental in making sure that I got put on the project. With Mary J. Blige, the project I did with Mary J., the project that I did with Dominic, which was very instrumental in helping to bring about the awareness of, what are we hoping for equality? What are we hoping for? I have a new single that's coming out called Stand Up, speaking to, the Brianna Project, something that's really dear to me. This young lady who was also a paramedic, who did the same thing pretty much that I did, caring for people. And so in this whole project, I'm just delighted that I was a part of it and that I was singled out to say, okay, it's not your sisters now, it's you, Jackie. And so
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to make a difference as well. So I'm glad to have my name to be on that project. A new album coming out with the people that helped produce that was Antoine Foster and B. Slade. I'm so grateful to them. Dominic Polk is the one who wrote the song that Mary J. And I mean, not Mary J., but he was the one who wrote the song that, that me and Mary J. did together. So I'm really kind of honored. I've been blessed, Kelly, and to say the least. I want to thank my label UMAG for putting my project out and seeing to it that the public got it. I'm just really excited about it, really am.
Jackie, thank you. I love you. The bottom line is you're just blessed and highly favored.
Yes. Oh, now you can be a brother. Come on, sing with us.
I'll be up there. I'm coming to Detroit to
I'm gonna
get
see.
your,
I'm gonna see if you
home
coming.
cooking, and I'll break out in song on you.
I'm gonna see if you coming.
All right, I'm coming.
All right.
All right. Jackie Clark Chisholm on the Kelly Wright Show. Love her, love her, love her. Make sure you check out her new project and keep hope burning in your hearts.
Yes,
After
keep hope
having a
alive.
conversation with Jackie, how can you not? I'm back with more with my final word. Jackie, love you. God
Love
bless
you too. Thank you.
you. Keep it on. All right. Back with more after this. I want to thank all of the guests for being on tonight's program. The DeLuz brothers, they'll be back in the house again this week. Also, my special thanks to Jackie Clark Chisholm, my new sister in the faith. And certainly we're going to leave with her song, Feel Good. But before we do that, my final word is this. Hopefully we've learned from Jackie how important and precious life is and how our words truly matter. Therefore, speak life, my friends. Be righted, ignited, and united to keep spreading love, freedom, and peace. We leave you now with Jackie Clark Chisholm and Mary J. Blige singing Feel Good. Good night.
Feel so good. Feel so good. Make you feel good. Make you feel good. Get up, jump up all over the nation. It's a party, here's a celebration. If you can't think of a reason to celebrate, just think about the fact that you woke up today. Oh, everybody around the world, take a minute and just let it flow. Doesn't matter if you're young or not enough. Don't hold back, go ahead and let it flow. It's okay if you want, throw your hands up, break away for a moment to free yourself. I don't care what's there, just scream and shout. Go ahead and let it all out. It will make you feel good, yeah. It will make you feel good, good. So make you feel good. It will make you feel good. Count your blessings and not your problems. Worrying about them won't help you solve them. If you can't think of a reason to celebrate, just think about the fact that you woke up today.